Your weekend.
Welcome to the 7th ordinary meeting of the 171st session of the Queen's University of Belfast Literary and Scientific Society. I'm feeling very spooky this evening, very spooky, and I have upholded the tradition of me dropping something as soon as I get up, and I've added something else to the tradition where as I went to bend down, I pulled a muscle. So if that's not an indication of where tonight's going, I don't know what is. So, without further ado, it's announcement time. So, flip, that is really, that is, what's Halloween without a bit of injury? So, first announcement, lapel pins. Lapel pins will be available for sale at the front. I'm not wearing mine at the moment because it's on my other coat, but they'll be £3.50, so if you want a lapel pin, come and buy them there. I'm seeing many of you here today that were at last night's wonderful Halloween pub crawl, organised by Conor McArdle. That was a great event for everyone that was there. It was a really good night, and I think we should do a clap, because it was great. And if you enjoy the social side of letter effort, or just want to have a good time in your life, we are heading to the Practitioner after this debate. It is the pub, the very nice pub, on the crossroads at Botanic Avenue. So that's a bit of fun. Also, congratulations are in order. We sent a few delegations down for the first round of the Irish Times. And of those people, Mr. Russell Nairn and Mr. Conor McArdle progressed as a team, and Mr. Matthew Bryson progressed as a speaker to the next round of the Irish Times. So another round of clapping. The Irish Times is one of the biggest debating competitions on the island. It's a proper big competition. So another round of applause for everyone who went. We'll be having a training workshop next Wednesday, so if you want to know a bit more about debating, if you want to brush up on your skills, or you're new to it, come along to our training workshop, which will be next Wednesday at 5:30 in the Students' Union. It will be an introduction to competitive debating, i.e. what goes on when you go to competitions, and it's also useful in the house for our annual Dufferin debate, which will be taking place in the second semester. That's our annual debate for the best speaker, best overall speaker, so go to that. And new people, if you want to go to a debate where your debating skills are tested, our Godkin debate is still coming up. That's This House Regrets the Arab Spring, so if you want to sign up for that, please give the Facebook page a message or speak to Mr. Russell Nairn.
I sign up as soon as possible because the spaces are filling up.
The spaces are filling up, so that goes for all of our debates. Get signed up as soon as possible. I believe that is everything with regards to announcements. I will check the card. Yes it is. So, now it is time to read the minutes. Oh, I've forgotten something. A few weeks ago, actually for the past 2 weeks, I have been, I'm going to use the word abused for not giving Chloe a theme tune as she came up. So I've created one for tonight. This was not her idea. I've forced this theme tune onto the world. So if it's not funny, it is... Well, it's not funny, it's my fault. And so, to read the minutes of our 6th ordinary meeting, please welcome to the front someone I know who knows the lyrics to Super Bass by Nicki Minaj, Miss Chloe Ferguson.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what I should have expected. I don't know if it was that, but it happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so, hello, both sides. On Thursday, 24th of October, 45 members of the Literary and Scientific Society of Queen's University Belfast came together for the 6th ordinary meeting of the 171st session to debate the motion, "This House regrets the romanticisation of the past." President Matthew Bradley began by declaring it was a reasonably mediocre evening, and become all of a sudden exhausted by changing a PowerPoint slide. At this point, Matthew's advice to the room was, "You're going to do a lot of things in university. but just make sure you look after your health. And I'm sure looking around the room, you can see the entirety of council has taken this advice, as none of us are as pale as the undead at all. Look at all of us, we all have problems. President Bradley began with some announcements reminding the members of the Halloween pub crawl because it's good fun. I was there last night. Maybe some of you guys had a little bit too much fun. Mr. Russell then opened our private members' business by declaring I was having quite a nice day, emphasis on the past tense, until he stumbled across a little TV show called The British Tribe Next Door. I know everyone was here last week. I'm reminding you of that monstrosity, which makes a mock-up of an African village, fills it with people, and builds an English house, I know, on the outskirts, fills it with totally cool, not racist white people to see how they interact with the natives. Nothing like a good dash of colonialism to ruin your day. In reaction to this, Mr. Jack Cowden called it shocking, the most culty thing I've ever heard on that recording. Mr. Zach Scott then brought to the house the most pressing matter of the week, nay, the millennia, the resurrection of QUB love. On side note, God bless all those people who've seen the influx of the litter of thick posts on there this week. Like, Jesus. I don't think we haven't seen all of you trying to slip into that man's DMs. We have. Mr. Scott then posted the house, how long do we think it'll be until it's set? Womanizer and hot stuff Mark Elmore shouted to the room that it would never be shut down, yelling, love is in the air, love can survive in QUB. To take a quote from the page just yesterday, imagine meeting the lad of your dreams and then finding out he gets a pint of milk with his bosom. Ah yes, truly magical. Mr. G. Perry then brought to the house a post that stated, that third year Sligo lad, get in my bed. This was narrowed down to 3 people, 2 of which are members. So Russell, how's the investigation going? Do we know who?
Yes, I conducted a thorough investigation, and in the process, got kind of bored. I instead saw if I could get the word suck with 2 C's approved as a post on QUB Love, and it was. So if you all want to go like that post, I would very much appreciate it.
Hashtag not man. The evening, other pieces of private members' business were taken from Miss Virginia Sweeney. The evening then moved on to President's questions, beginning with Ms. Jessica Neat Smith asking proudly, in the spirit of the spooky season and the President's general brand, what is the scariest episode of Doctor Who you've seen? Of course, the answer was Blink, which is like an episode about the Weeping Angels, and for those of you who watch Doctor Who, and I of course agree, because a side note is, my entire family dressed up as Weeping Angels one year, so I couldn't find the photo, but there's just a really, like one year we were all like paint grey with these weird bed sheets, and like we went trick-or-treating, but like my mum and dad did this as well, so we were all like this around the neighbourhood. Yes, so for all of you, I couldn't find a picture of that monstrosity. And Mr. Russell then questioned the President on the structural integrity of the gavel he was so brittly handling that evening. Which to this, Matthew responded, it had about as much integrity as an English student's health, which is, let me tell you, a real mood. Matthew then did a delighted prance around the room, showing off his gavel to everyone who he happened upon. However, as the President did note himself, it was only from a distance, it can look quite impressive. What a sight to see. Other President's questions were taken from Mr. J. Radcliffe, Mr. Conor McArdle, why can I never do your name? And Mr. Calvin Black, HLM. Moving on, a vote of prior opinion was taken on the motion, this House regrets the romanticisation of the past, for 23 votes for the proposition, 8 votes for the opposition, and 11 abstentions. We had a good spread, it was good. Opening, we had Mr. Shane McGuinness in his maiden speech to the Society. Mr. McGuinness began the debate by stating that living in nostalgia is ignoring the voice of reason, making it seem more appealing than it actually was. So kind of like when we kind of all crawl back to our exes and, you know, it's just really daunting. And Shane asked the House not to be filled. A feat that would be surprisingly more difficult for some members of the House than you would expect. Speaking first for the opposition, we had Mr. Matthew Sullivan, HLN, or for those of you who were on the court call last night, as many of you were, oh Lord and Saviour, Jesus Christ. With that in mind, I can understand why Mr. Sullivan, or Jesus, would want to forget some of the stuff we have to go through. The romanticisation of the past can lead to a healthy development of industry, and that nurtures the creative spirit of the public. Romanticisations bring us together as a unit. Moving on, marking the halfway point of the debate, Mr. Philip Lennon stood to speak in defence of the motion, advocating that governmental organisations utilise the romanticisation of the past to rewrite history and warp public opinion. Calling on the rhetoric from the last elections in America, he put to the House, Was America ever truly great? Well, I can say for certain the answer is no. It just sucks. And at this point, I was looking through my initial notes of last week, and it just says, I am feeling like a Chipco, but like with 7 O's, and like it's still. I must have been writing a note to you or something as I was doing minutes, but like it's still a real mood. Speaking second for the opposition, Mr. Matt Lee took to the floor to advocate for romanticisation, stating that romanticisation of blood springs from traditional values, looking back at what we once achieved along a common cultural identity within our social worlds. To summarise, if you didn't know, we in fact live in a society. Tying up the proposition's argument was Mr. Conor McArdle. Got it. The priest who was plying you all with alcohol last night. Mr. McArdle argued there is clear joy for romanticising the past. However, for society to move forward, we need to look to the future. Young kids growing up with no opportunities by this clinging to what instead was and what could have been. Mr. Upham McSparn concluded the debate for the evening by saying that romanticisation can be bad when used in a limited way. However, weighing the benefits and losses, the inspiration of future generations to create and study is what makes it worth it. Mr. McSparn finished the debate by stating, some things happen, maybe making it better than it actually was isn't a bad thing to do. That's a very sentimental and lovely notion. However, to me that just screams sixth form nights out. Like you end it with stick in your shoes and a chunk of your hair gone, but as long as you get that glossy Instagram pic, put your earrings back on and do it all again the next week. Questions were taken from Mr. Matthew McCallion, Mr. James Orchin, Mr. Russell Nairn, Ms. Kira Kashsa, Ms. Gemma Khan, Mr. Ben Karen, Mr. Sam McDonald, and Mr. Mark Gilmore. As unspeakability was taken with 21 votes for the proposition, 17 votes for the opposition, and 6 votes for the abstention, meaning proposition 1 on the motion, this House regrets the romanticisation of the past. May I take the minutes as read?
Aye.
I couldn't get out of my chair there for a second. It was really troublesome. So, this is the bit of the meeting where you're really liking the fact that me not getting out of my chair is troubling me. Okay. So we now move on to the bit of the evening which we quite happily know as private members' business. Yes, I'm sticking with the agenda because it's organised. So if anyone has any bits of private members' business, put your wow, that was quick, Mr. Russellman. That was, is that the Flash?
Yo. I will not go Flash, thankfully.
Please don't Flash.
So, this relates to very recently a musician who some of you may have heard of by the name of Amanda Palmer was touring across Ireland. She played in Dublin about a week ago and in Belfast last Saturday. I went and see it. It was a very, very good concert. But in the process of her tour, obviously when a musician is advertising a big tour in Ireland, they tend to be invited onto the Late Late Show. And she was invited onto the Late Late Show just because this musician was coming along, and she was then promptly disinvited from the Late Late Show when they discovered the song that she intended to play, which was the headline song from her most recent album by the name of Voicemail for Jill, I believe that's the title, which is a song about abortion. A very, very tasteful song about abortion, I may add. It's not like some of the more aggressive songs you may get in the likes of BoJack Horseman. But I'm wondering what people think about this. What do they think about her being disinvited from the show? And what do they think about the situation in general?
Any thoughts? Mr. Conor McArdle?
Yeah, I've seen this and I was actually quite surprised because RT has done themselves a lot more damage by disinviting her than actually letting her go on the show and perform her artwork. And the Late Late Show has always, ironically enough, been quite confident to tackle these issues, especially in secular Ireland. Like there was a massive outcry when Gay Byrne whipped out a condom in the early 80s on the Late Late Show, and everybody's like, oh my god, he's a condom on TV. And but the Late Late Show has that element of not being afraid to tackle big issues in Ireland, and I would have thought and I would have hoped that, nearly a year and a bit now after the repeal of the Youth referendum, Ireland would have moved on. The state broadcaster wouldn't be afraid to allow a woman to come on and sing that song.
Any other thoughts on the issue? Okay, a few thoughts. That happens sometimes. Are there any other separate bits of private members' business? That was very quick. Let's go my Donegan.
This news is very, very recent, but I was just wondering if anyone in the House has any opinion on the imminent reunion of the world's greatest band, My Chemical Romance.
Well, I think we know who this is going to.
I literally just see them on Twitter there now as well, and I feel like 13-year-old me is screaming, this is the best news ever. Like, on Halloween as well. God bless. Like,
I don't know how, but the headband somehow added to what you were saying. It was just like, you'd find out that they were coming back and you're like, need to put this back on. Mr. Russellman.
That is not dead which can eternal lie, and given strange eons even death may die. I think it's pretty good. One of the things that I would point out to, if any of you have ever seen photos of, I believe his name is Jared Butler, the lead singer of My Chemical Romance. So it's Jared something, isn't it?
Way.
Jared Way, thank you very much. That's what I was wrong. Jared Way. If you ever see, anyway, completely irrelevant to my point. If you ever see photographs of him recently, he has taken up a very aesthetic look of looking like someone you would see walking outside the computer science building in Queens. And it is shockingly hilarious because I feel like I see him every day as I walk past. That really has no pertinence to the band getting back together. I think it's going to be very nice, but I thought it's funny, and I think you should all find it funny too.
There we go. How is this getting more response than like an actual social issue? Mr. Chris Hubble.
I disagree. I think recently the lead singer has been looking a lot like a spotted Moria.
Connor, is this about how good Gerald Butler looks, or like?
I'll bring that up though.
Oh, please do.
He is a Celtic fan, so good luck with him. No, listen, as one of the few members of the house who probably doesn't like My Chemical Romance because these fuckers used to terrify me, right?
That's a
I remember in high school, right? There used to be those My Chemical Romance people who had like fucking Sony flip phones, and I just wanted to play football, but you wanted to listen to My Chemical Romance and be really scary. What type of name is it for a band anyway? What are they doing? Like, have they broken into the chemistry lab? It's a weird name. And you don't want to play football like normal people.
Connor, I'm sorry, Margaret. I need to find where's my pen? Is there a pen on that table? I need a pen. Thank you very much, Mr. Sullivan. Because this is, I'm not sure whether it's your fourth or fifth fine, you know. And I said last week, if you hadn't paid the fine and you had made one more, you had to buy me a Jeep. So you owe me a Jeep.
Sure, I can find you one in South Armagh.
Connor
Might not be mine.
owes me a Jeep. Beep, all aboard the debate wagon. Any more thoughts on My Chemical Romance? Thank you very much, Simon. Any more thoughts on that? Any other thoughts on anything else? Ms. Tara Grace Connolly.
I'm going to do the generic, like, political one of the week, and I'm going to give you a choice of two. So you can either discuss about the legislation for, what do we call it? First vote and impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump passes in the US House of Representatives, or just the general election generally. So, thoughts and opinions, please.
So, how do we want to do this? Do we want to just say whoever has their hand up first chooses, or do you want to do a vote on which one we prefer to talk about? Vote. So, all those who want general election, please raise your hand and say, ah! Ah! 2, 3, 4, 5.
I don't think you need to count, to be honest.
Count these. Oh.
Okay, I won't bother counting. Anyone who wants to talk about Trump and impeachment, please raise your hand and say, oh no! Well, that's no one. Any abstentions, I want you to say, I have no opinions, and raise your hand.
I have no opinion.
Excellent! Madam Secretary, can you please read back the votes?
Number 3, I have no opinions, and the rest of you, you're just obsessed with the general election record crap.
So, election. Who wants to speak about the election? Just 2 of you. Flip me. Oh, 3. Mr. Cormac. 5. This is amazing, Mr. Cormac Manning. Welcome back.
Hello everyone. In related news, QUB have just announced graduation dates. And my graduation date is going to be the day of the election. So I'm trying to find out the closest polling station to Queens and do like a polling station. Botanic Primary School.
Did have a little peg nearly your foot.
But
sorry.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. Election is right in the middle of term time after all this debate about the exact date, because we'll be on the same time as colleges and universities finishing. There you go. I have it the same week as QUP graduation.
Hey. Yes, there are more thoughts. Mr. Beckhaven.
Beckhaven, this is just my opinion. But for me, as long as Jeremy Corbyn doesn't get in, don't really care. You know, to be honest, I'd even prefer that Welsh party that no one's ever heard of.
You might as well just.
Mr. Chris Hubble, but you're going to have to calm down first. I will not be mediating a fight. This is not WWE, and I will warn you, if there is a fight, I can do some damage with a barrel. So, Mr. Hubble.
First off, if you're worried about graduation day, or if you have anything else on that day, register for proxy vote or postal vote, because then you get it in advance, or you can vote without being there on the day. So that will solve that issue. If you haven't registered, register vote, because wherever you are, whether you're voting here or whether you're voting the rest of the UK, that is important. If you are based here and not sure how you can influence UK politics, obviously you all know my colours. I don't hide them very easily, but if you want to help out from a distance, I'm going to be running phone banks, so just get in contact with me, and I'm just going to be having people constantly round wine, and I'll feed you tea, or beer, or biscuits, or any of all three, and we'll phone some people and get them to vote. So let's kick some assholes out of Parliament.
How I find them for that?
Yeah.
They are assholes though, come on.
A wee bag of sweets, please, Chris. They can be red if you want. Mr. Cormac.
On the point about the bottles being kicked out of Parliament, I would just like to express my disappointment that immediately in the week of the general election, rather than present a united front against a Conservative dominance of the past 10 years, the Lib Dems and Labour immediately turned on each other.
In case.
Comment on that?
Yeah, you just put your hand up like everyone else there, it's fine. Yeah, you can do it because you said.
Alright, I think now you can disagree with me, but I think the Lib Dems and Labour fundamentally are clashing because the Lib Dems have just aligned themselves with the SNP, and the SNP and Labour, I think, hate each other. I'm pretty sure.
Can I have names for minutes still? Because not everyone in the room there know each other.
Yes.
I know your name.
Yes, everyone in the room, even if I know you, state your name as soon as I point at you. Even if I've known you for 1 year, half a year, a couple of days, or indeed 10 years. So,
Tony Blair. I think sort of, this illustrates the problem of British politics at the moment, in that we have the two sort of traditionally main parties are moving further and further to the extremes. We have to realise that they're both as equally culpable for the state that British politics is at the moment. Labour has moved strategically terribly to the hard left. Like, some of their policies are absolutely ludicrous, and especially after Brexit. Well, yeah, but especially after Brexit, when Britain needs to have some sort of business, some of these policies will scare all of the businesses out of London, and that's just a fact. And the Tories are going absolutely nuts as well. And to bring it back to this lovely place as well, anybody see the Spotlight special with Alicia McCallan the other day? And she said that in her 2 years as MP, she's done more for the people of Derry than the SDLP ever has, which I thought was absolutely shocking. And hopefully she'll lose her seat because of a statement like that. But yeah, Britain's just an absolute shit show at the moment.
Oh, it's gonna be
It's like a Jeep with like bigger.
it's gonna be like a Jeep but with like chrome plating on it. It's like a comma owes me nice Jeep. There we go.
Do you want seat massagers? No, actually not seat massagers.
Just because of the nature of this, I'm gonna have to give it to Ben then, Chris, even though I kind of just want to sit in a little box. There you go.
Ben Cowan, whilst I agree with Mr McCardle that Labour are moving further to the left, I believe the Conservatives are probably the least conservative party that exists, conservative nature. I believe the only conservative party that actually truly exists now is the DUP, because they're the only true right-wing party now.
Right-wing, but not right.
Chris, you wanted to speak? You folded your arms, so if you don't want to, you can sit
Well, that
there.
was just to stop me punching things.
If there is any physical violence in this room, I will destroy you. So, because if you've seen me in a fight, you haven't seen me in a fight. I would go down very easily. Mr. Hubble.
I completely disagree that both parties are responsible for the situation that Britain is in at the moment. Like, Brexit is a Tory implemented strategy. Like, it was put in place, that the referendum was put in place to deal with internal divisions in the Tory party. The Tory party have progressively gone further to the right, and they have failed at every step of the way to implement either a Brexit strategy that works with people, or even just a policy domestically that works for people. Like, they have decimated this country, and to say that that party that is built on hatred and is built on a disdain for working people is anyway comparable with a party that is wanting to help people and to put power into working people is completely outrageous.
Thanks, Ron.
There are some hands up, but I think we're going to have to call as private members of business here. I've just seen the time, and we will move on to an incredibly brief round of President's questions. So, apologies I didn't get to speak to everyone there, but time is ticking on, and we are contractually obliged to do this. Mr. Russell Nairn.
Hello.
Hi.
Mr. Russell Nairn. I would ask you, Mr. President, that given the theming of tonight's debate,
Yeah?
if there was any fictional vampire going back as far as you would like into the fictional canon, or indeed as far future as the present day, which vampire would you like to suck you?
I'm going to say the glittery vampire played by Noel Fielding in the Lego Movie 2. That is, I thought that surprisingly quickly, but here we are.
Yeah.
We're here now. Any other President's questions? Mr. Ben Cadden.
Yeah, Ben Callan. I'm just wondering, also in light of today's debate, what the President thinks of the Doctor Who episode Vampires of Venice.
I think The Vampires of Venice is fine. It's okay. I haven't seen it in quite a while. Essentially, for those of you who haven't seen it, the Doctor takes his companions Amy and Rory on a trip to Venice to save their relationship, and they end up bumping into some fish aliens, which when you see them look like vampires but are actually fish. And I don't really remember much about it apart from that. Yeah, it was okay. I quite liked it. Any other questions, Ms. Lois McCullough?
Seeing as it is Halloween, what is your biggest fear?
I could tell you my actual biggest fear, or I could say something that's funny. Oh, that's. I'm gonna. What was said there? Can we have the funny joke shared, please?
Prime Minister.
Yeah. So, my biggest fear. This, having a president's question I've got no answer to. That is my biggest fear. At the moment, it could change. It could be like a clown with a chainsaw that's also a child on a tricycle. There we go. That was that question answered sensibly. Mr. John McDonald.
If you had a child and it looked like the Twilight robot, would you still love it?
Call that now.
Close your mouth.
This is like where a serial killer knows he's going to prison and he's just like, fuck, I'm out of fun, you know?
So, I'm so glad I actually found my pen, because now it's gone for Connor owes me a nice Jeep and a Twix. There we go. So you'll be quite.
What if I leave the Twix in the Jeep and it melts?
You leave it in the glove compartment. Don't be a heathen, like God.
Stop with the cops and like a smooth Twix.
So it was the robot baby in Twilight. I've been sent various pictures of this child. If you want to know what it looks like, imagine a child carved out of a potato that has probably got like a shredder for a mouth. It's horrifying. What was the question? Would I kick it? What was the?
Would you love it?
Would I love it?
Yeah.
It goes for any children I may have. The answer is obviously no. There's the, yeah. If you want to look up the Twilight robot baby, do that, but just like, bring a towel because you may throw up. Are there any other final President's questions? Time is, Mr. Conor McArdle. Mind your language, son.
As we know, we were all on a delightful pub crawl last night. If you could be a pub, which pub would you be? I'm really scratching. Like,
this is getting very surreal. If I could be a pub, I don't know. You know, I don't drink, so like my.
It's better. So you have to like decide about ambience and food and app placements.
Tap placements.
Yeah, like if the Guinness tap is too close to like some certain corner, it can upset the mood. So you ever been in a pub, right, and the Guinness tap is like a really annoying place, and it's like over there.
Not even.
It's not usually my problem.
This is like one of my weird dreams. I think I would be. I'm just going to say a pub in Bangor to keep it vague, because no one would know it. No, hot pace. I don't like hot pace. Some of the floors are a bit sticky. I'm going to go for. Pardon?
Goat's toe.
Yeah.
Goat's toe, yeah, because it's in Bangor, that's why. Any other questions? Any other questions that won't leave me baffled? Mr. Mark Gilmore, and then we'll finish this off.
Mr. President, this is a two-parter. The first is, could you ask Madam Secretary if she's eating at all today? Because I'm worried about her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a meal deal. It
Good.
was good. This from it.
I'm glad we established that. Second part. What is the spookiest noise that you can make?
This is really uncomfortable.
Whisper it in
Mark, I can see you.
There we go. That's the spookiest noise. Did you like that? And so, we move on from President's questions to the vote of prior opinion. On that then motion, this House would date a vampire. And Mark, because you liked it so much, we're doing both prior opinions, so
All those who wish to vote for the proposition, please raise your hands.
that's making me really though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
It's 21, not long after that.
13.
14.
We're never on the same page.
Doesn't make the scary now. Could all those who wish to vote for the opposition please raise your hands?
No fun.
Don't turn around. You'll be applied if you turn around.
It's sacrifice.
And all those who wish to abstain for the scariest voice of all, it's my own. Please raise your hands and say meh. 1, 2. Oh, more opinions on this than I thought. Madam Secretary, could you please read back the vote?
On the vote of prior opinion on the motion, this House would date a vampire. Proposition had 14 votes, opposition had 10 votes, and the abstentions had 2. So proposition has it.
The proposition has it, everyone. Do a clap. We always clap. So, will that remain the same or will that change? It's time to get spooky, so please welcome to speak first for the proposition, Mr. Cormac Donegan.
I'm going off my phone, so bear with me. I need the correct gravitas for this. Good evening. The motion tonight is, this House would date a vampire. That is to say, we are debating whether or not we, as members of the House, would engage in a meaningful relationship with a creature of the night. Be they of the Count Dracula variety, the Edward Cullen variety, or the Sesame Street Count variety if you're so inclined. And I think I can answer this question right now. Of course this House would date a vampire. What's wrong with you people? The very idea that this is debatable sickens me. Vampires are just people. People like you and me. They eat, drink, sleep, mostly the same as us. If you tickle them, do they not laugh? If you prick them, do they not bleed? Of course they do, provided you use a wooden stick or equivalent. In their speeches tonight, the opposition will undoubtedly bombard you with scaremongering stories about the vile bloodsuckers that drink the blood of the innocent, of ageless things of undeath engaging in disturbing relationships of questionable consent with people several millennia their junior. They will use these stories to condemn an entire mortally challenged community for the actions of those that are wrongly condemned within that community. Should we take the serial killings of Jeffrey Dahmer as proof that we should not date mortal people? That they are fundamentally evil creatures with no hope of redemption? No, of course not. Well, apparently that's up for debate as well. To even propose such a thing would be ridiculous. I was kind of hoping everyone would agree with me there. And so it is with the opposition's slander. And before you stand up to claim that vampiric crimes are a systemic issue whose regularity cannot be dismissed as the actions of mere individuals, and that it is only good sense not to date members of a community who have, from birth, been associated in such a way that would arguably preclude them from stable, non-toxic relationships. I might say you have a wee bit of... But, let me respond with this. People still date men, don't they? Now, you might say that is sexist and bigoted, which I would say, yes, it probably is. So why then are we debating whether or not we should date a vampire on similar terms? Of course I would date a vampire. I'm not a bigot. And frankly, anyone who does have doubts about whether they would bed the undead needs to take a serious look at their own biases and prejudices. But you have concerns about waking up with unsightly teeth marks after a night together, about having your precious bodily fluids drained, about becoming a thrall to a 1,000-year-old incarnation of darkness. I get it. But the answer to these concerns is simple. The establishment of proper boundaries and consent that are essential in any relationship. These things are about compromise, people. And a relationship between the living and the dead is no different. Maybe you say you only drink blood on the weekend. Maybe you only drink low-fat organic blood that's ethically sourced.
On that point,
go ahead.
Do you not think that consent is inherently impossible in a relationship that relies off of a parasitic power dynamic? Vampire fetishists are a common feature throughout vampire literature, and they always rely upon the exploitation of that individual by the vampire.
I reject the assertion the only reason to date a vampire is because you have a fetish for them. I don't have a fetish for people with black hair, but I still occasionally date some people like that. The important thing for a relationship to work, no matter what person or species you're dating, is that all parties involved must work to make each other comfortable. If you do this, you'll have just as much success dating Vlad Tepes Dracula as you might have with Craig up the road. In fact, you might have more success because you don't get to be an immortal creature with 1,000 years down your belt without a little bit of patience creeping in there. I assure you that a vampire is likely far more willing to compromise with boundaries as a result. Certainly more than Craig, that jerk. So not going to completely solve any possible ethical boundaries regarding a relationship with the living dead, our side will do our very best to present the case for the vampiric community and what they have to offer in a relationship. My fellow speakers, Mary-Kate and Jay, will go into greater details on the finer points of these benefits. Mary-Kate will bring in some examples of our favourite consensual bloodsuckers and the pluses of dating them, while Jay will talk all about the amazing powers of those in the vampiric family. But there is one specific benefit I want to mention. I've seen your tweets. I've been in your group chats. I know what you desire deep down. What we all desire. And are vampires not the platonic ideal of that desire? Are vampires not the ultimate goth GF? Yes. Not being able to go out during the day, not being seen unless they consume the blood of the innocent, not being able to cross running water, these are all drawbacks. But no one's perfect. I mean, some people are forever unable to see their own reflection because of an ancient curse, and there are some people who always break the bank on nights out, or wear too much deodorant, or play Fortnite. We all have our faults, and none of us are perfect. If you're gonna date someone, you do it because you like them. And that's the same whether that person is living or dead. All that we ask is that you don't dismiss the dead and all they have to offer, because they can offer an awful lot. And frankly, if you're like, Oh, my significant other. They've gone without appeasing the blood of Cain that boils inside them, and now my beautiful sparkling babe has become a hideous goblin Nosferatu creature. Then I got one thing to say. In the words of one of our most profound poets, if you don't love me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Thank you for your time, and prove you aren't a bigot by voting with the proposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Donegan, for your spectacular speech. Now, please welcome to oppose the motion, Ms. Laura Armstrong.
Hello and good evening, everyone. Tonight on this fine, spooky, scary Halloween night, we as the opposition are here before you as your very own Halloween-themed dating experts. To strongly advise you that if, especially over this Halloween period, the chance does come up to potentially start talking to and maybe start dating a vampire, that this is honestly something that you really should not take up. Now, I know what many of you are thinking. Laura, what are you talking about? It's a vampire. Come on, dating a vampire would be amazing. You know, we think of them so cool and mysterious, or so gothy. They kind of got these cheekbones. Apparently they sparkle. But in reality, when you actually come to think about the dangers, the risks, and the difficulties in dating a vampire, these certainly outweigh any potential benefits that the proposition is going to try and argue. As I will develop on in my speech, that even if you do adopt this mysterious, kind of cool, gothy image of a modern-day vampire, that there are still practical difficulties when it comes to actually going on a date with them. And then my friend Matthew will go on to elaborate on the fact that vampires are, members of the undead, inherently evil, godless creatures who do feed on human blood, so potentially not the best soulmate, while Lois is going to finish on highlighting how our kind of modern day steps up view of vampires, particularly seen in movies and books, is far from the kind of original depiction of vampires, which they're more likely to be like. And if you've seen them kind of images, you might reconsider going on a date with them. So, what are these practical difficulties? So I remember when I first saw this motion on the term card, my imagination, as it always does, began to drift off. And I began to imagine, what if this cool vampire guy showed up at Queen's one day? So we're going to call him Vlad. So you can imagine that shows up at Queen's, doing his thing, avoiding direct sunlight, mainly hanging outside in the clay at night, filing his fangs or whatever. Could you imagine the amount of QB love posts about this guy? So, I imagine that one evening I'm getting coffee at Hope Cafe and he comes up behind me and he makes this joke. Oh, do you know that vampires, we only drink decaffeinated coffee. So I'm thinking, this guy is perfect and funny. What's not to like? So we start talking, we exchange numbers, and then he whips his hair back and he's all like, oh, we should go on a date sometime. So I'm thinking, everything sounds great. But as my imagination went on, it seemed that from then on, my relationship with Vlad began to go downhill. First of all, it would seem that me and Vlad kind of have different sleep patterns. So I tend to be more of a day person, whereas Vlad, he's only up at night. But at the time I'm thinking, it's for Vlad, for Vlad. I'll just, go sleep crazy, I'll just stay up, it's fine. But the less sleep I get, then I don't become the most nice or approachable girlfriend to be around. Also, I find that date ideas can be quite limited with Vlad. We thought about going for food. I was like, oh, we'd go for, Pizza Co. and Botanic. Whereas he was more into O negative blood type from the blood bank. So we decided, right, we'll call that one off. Another thing you may know about vampires is that they don't have a reflection. This means that Vlad, he doesn't show up in photographs. And
on that point,
yes.
This is going to make me sound like a massive nerd, but historically, one of the reasons vampires don't show up with a reflection is because of their vulnerability to silver, and mirrors would be traditionally plated with silver. And therefore, in most modern vampire literature, you will find that vampires do actually show up in photographs, because that concern regarding the silver has been nullified.
Oh, well, That means I can't take a selfie with them, that's okay. So, well, another issue is that vampires, well, they don't age. So this has been quite an issue. Firstly, it's meant that Vlad, he's been on the dating scene for quite a long time. So it means he's had quite a lot of history with quite a lot of exes. So could you imagine the whole load of drama that you're immediately thrown into if you try and date a vampire? It's really not worth it. And also, with the fact of him having eternal life, it's come with so many issues. Firstly, I have no idea how I'm going to be able to fit 355 candles onto Vlad's birthday cake. But also, as I age, Vlad, he stays the same. Now, in the first maybe 10 or so years of dating, that'll be great, because you've got this younger boyfriend. It's great. But then, as time goes on, it becomes increasingly annoying having to explain, oh, no, he's not my son. And then as time goes on even more, oh no, he's not my grandson. And not to mention that I will never be able to have a good old Catholic wedding with Vlad that my family pays for. Because obviously, as soon as a vampire enters into a Catholic church, turns into dust. So my poor old Catholic granny isn't going to approve of him, and I'm sorry, Vlad, if she doesn't approve, we're going to have to call it quits. So, now to conclude, as you can see, I've only named a few examples, but there are so many just practical difficulties when it comes to simply dating a vampire, and that's not even touching on the fact that they're, devil-worshipping, blood-sucking monsters, which our other two speakers are then going to develop on. But hopefully you can see that simply dating a vampire is not actually all it cracks up to be, and therefore hopefully you will vote with us tonight on the opposition, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for your speech. I'm so sorry all of that happened to you. Now please welcome up to speak second for the proposition, Miss Mary Kate Dobbin.
I've stolen Tara's sticky headband. Okay, so first up, I'm going to introduce myself to the people that don't know who I am. I am Mary Kate. I am an academic Twilight enthusiast and all-around vampire aficionado. Can't get enough of it. To speak to the first speaker, the idea of damned is very religious, studio-centered, and not very secular. Plus, you can't be damned to hell if you never die. You can't face God if you never die. And these drawbacks, like Russell explained about the reflections in the mirrors, depends on the genre, depends on the time. A lot of them are overcome. And the running water one, for instance, even Dracula overcame it. He just stuck some dirt in his coffin to travel across the water. You can work past those things. The romantic benefits as opposed to the physical dangers can't be measured. You can't calculate romance. Also, the sun. Bella Swan moved to Forks, the cloudiest place, because, the vampires, they could be in the sun because there wasn't any. Northern Ireland, it's the same thing. when do we have sun? They could probably be out in the daytime. But on to my speech. The question of are vampires dateable is undeniable because throughout history and literature, vampirism has been a metaphor and a vehicle used to convey sex and sexuality. Vampires are sexy, been sexy since the 19th century.
On that point,
yes.
I have seen Nosferatu the vampire, and Mary Kate, anyone thinks he is sexy, they should probably go to an asylum.
There are ugly people too, often. There are ugly vampires. And the question of would I date a vampire is a resounding yes. And it's been widely held opinion of, God, so many women. Or how would the mid-2000s craze among girls have taken off?
everybody remembers, or at least I remember, unless it was maybe a fever dream, that there was at one point like a supernatural or paranormal romance section in Waterstones in the teen fiction. Like that was a thing. It was massive. I was a young adult at the time. I was a demographic, as I'm sure so many girls in the audience were, as well as John. Listen, he loves Twilight as much as I do. I know he does.
Publicly shamed.
No one can deny the cultural impact of these novels of Twilight, and no one can deny that the soundtrack to the film slapped. We've established that they're sexy. We've established that culturally there is and has been an attraction to the vampire aesthetic.
On that point.
Yeah.
Has it not been the case that whilst, yes, historically vampires are used as a sexual metaphor, that is nearly always portrayed as a negative thing in regards to the vampires being manipulative, aggressive, or trying to steal people away and that kind of thing?
Sure. But I think if you were to look at historical fiction, anything to do with sex was an entirely negative image that was being portrayed. Certainly in modern fiction, a lot of vampires are very sexy, and although a lot of them, Twilight in particular, even though I like it, has some really negative attempt to be. That has more to do with Stephanie Meyer's Mormonism, though, to be honest. But what about, so we've established that they're sexy, that they're attractive, that we as a society are drawn to them, but what about the finer points? The unique advantages of dating a vampire, apart from the obvious, which is they're magic. Who doesn't want magic in their relationship? Like literal magic. Like you can't be bad to that. But Jay will talk more about those kind of supernatural benefits that you could have. But I'm going to talk about like romance, vampires. Though not all of them are centuries old, but those who are have been around long enough to pick up certain skills, and they've had time to hone all of their talents. So that could mean anything from what I'm suggesting, or their hobbies, the best home cooking, the most beautiful serenades. Bella Swan is romanced by Edward's beautiful piano. In that film. They could be the best dancers and actually dancing, not what you do in a club these days. Like proper ballroom dancing, like romance.
On that point?
Yeah.
So wouldn't that just give them more time to be depressed? Aren't your lives meant to be finite so that way we enjoy it and actually live?
I'm not sure of the rest ones. Depressed or worth dating. That's a thing to say. To be able to date somebody who's had these experiences, there's a lot of, it's romantic and it's desirable. And again, to explore the nuances of the vampire genre and the different iterations of vampire. Not all vampires are stuck inside all day. But even still, what's wrong with a little candlelit dinner? Yes.
Yeah, but you're the dinner.
Well, I can sit and I can eat my dinner while maybe it just sits there and looks at me. And they are, by nature, and vampires are devastatingly attractive in some. And even if they're not all regular humans are attractive. And aren't they still worthy of love? What you said to me vampires, and again, to end on something, vampires, especially the old ones, they have a hell of money. It's the perfect sugar baby situation. Rich, handsome, knowledgeable. It's romantic. I don't know what else to tell you guys. No, it's protected time. But anyway, yeah, vampires are sexy. Vampires are dateable. Please vote for the proposition.
Thank you very much, Mary Kate, for that speech. And I think we can all agree tonight we've heard a few things. So to say a few more things, please welcome up, being second for the opposition, Mr. Matthew Sullivan.
Ladies and gentlemen, guests and ghouls, proposition tonight is sorely misguided. They would have you believe vampires are just like you and me. Ah, sure, they've got a minor addiction to blood. Ah, sure, they're night owls, but who isn't, right? We're students. This is a dangerous fallacy. Over the next 7 minutes, I will be explaining why thinking of vampires as anything other than supernatural predators is a one-way ticket to either death or damnation. First, however, some rebuttal. Second prop raised, I think, 2 main points on why vampires are a good idea to date. The first one is, they're sexy. Yeah, there's also sexy, like, actual human people who don't need to go out every night and drain someone's blood. There's regular sexy people who, like, aren't undead. It's not really... I don't think, it's really a valid argument here. Yeah, there's sexy vampires. There's also sexy regular people. The second point is that they will acquire certain skills over their lives, or rather, unlives. Yeah. But over the course of their centuries, or God forbid, millennia of that damned facsimile of life, they have also seen dozens of generations live and die. If they ever loved anyone as immortal, that person's dead now. They've been dead a long time. They have seen countless scores of worthless mortal humans come and go just like ants or moths.
On that point.
Yes.
That's pretty goth.
And like goths, this leads vampires into a lack of humanity and a godlessness. Because, over time, this causes them to lose their humanity. If you've seen thousands of people die...
On that point.
No. Why do you care anymore? Yeah, sure. I'm a vampire. I've got this great girlfriend. See? But, in 20 years, she might get run over by a car. Why do I care? I've seen dozens of people I love die the same way.
On that point?
No. And that loss of humanity is what leads into my main point. That vampires are predators. They hunt and feed on humans, very often killing them in the process. Some of them probably felt remorse the first few dozen times. And then, after a century or two, the last vestiges of their humanity go away, and they start to see us as nothing more than a convenient herd of cattle. No. Because make no mistake, seducing you is just part of their predation strategy. Just like a hunter setting a snare for a rabbit. But let's say you're not just another rabbit. This vampire likes you and will keep you around for a while. Cool. So, you're dating a charismatic serial killer, a magical Ted Bundy. You have to live with that. You're involved with an unholy abomination that goes out every night to harm and often murder your fellow humans.
On that point?
Yeah.
But they're really hot, though.
Yeah, and there's hot people who don't murder people every night.
Debatable.
Well, if that's your thing, I don't want to kink shame, but it's not mine. And so, this leads you to this serious moral dilemma. Are you going to warn the victims? Are you going to do anything to stop your magical boy/girlfriend from going out and doing this? You have to live with that. You're involved with someone who might come home one night at 3 a.m. covered in blood. And then the next morning, you wake up, you're having your eggs and your bacon, you turn on BBC News, and you hear the news reporter go, and for a wrecking story today, a homeless man was found dead in Belfast today. His throat was ripped out. What are you going to do? Going to go to police? No, you're not. You're not going to go to police. Oh, and by the way, all these questions I'm asking, your boy/girlfriend is asking the same questions every time they consider whether or not you're too much of a risk to keep around, because they are a serial killer. And if any of the authorities found out there was this horrible creature going around, drinking blood, killing people, they want to deal with that. And the vampire knows this. They've been dealing with this for centuries. Yeah, sure, why not?
So then, you have convinced me of one thing that we do need to make sure the vampires don't actually kill anyone. So it would not be a very good statewide incentive that they inhabit that blood donations are made specifically for vampires under our NHS to make sure that vampires are provided with blood and they don't kill innocent people on the street.
No, because that's just not going to do it for most of these vampires. They're going to go, I've been drinking blood for millennia, and these whippersnappers are going to come along and make me drink bagged stuff. No. They've got problem taking away people's guns in America, never mind taking away vampires' flocks of cattle.
On that point?
No. As a side note, by the way, the fact that they have to go out every night and drink someone's blood, a different person every night, carries a serious risk of contracting a lot of bloodborne diseases like hepatitis or HIV. So that is a risk, that is a risk you're introducing into your life alongside the risk of becoming someone's Catholic son. Yes.
Do you think that they're defying all like known laws of like medical whatever the hell? And you think that HIV is going to slow this guy down?
There are plenty of examples in vampiric fiction of vampires contracting various bloodborne diseases and then spreading them among the entire human population.
Okay.
Because ultimately, that is what vampires are. They don't actually care about you. They can't. They've seen so many people live and die. Like, when you step on ants, do you care? No. When a moth, dies in your windowsill, oh yeah, it's a moth that lives for a day. Your lifespan is a lot shorter than a day compared to the vampires. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sullivan. Now, please welcome up to conclude for the proposition our first time speaker, Mr. J. Radcliffe.
Sup, cunts, how you doing?
Fine! What up?
Can you pass that thing down to us? Not yet.
Oh no, that's for later.
Just leave it here then?
No, actually, no, let's do this. There we go, fine.
How you doing, man?
Oh no.
So, I'd like to speak on a point that the first opposition actually brought up, and that's how the depiction of vampires has actually changed significantly over the years. Even if we speak about how initially they were obviously inherently evil, humanity's also changed a lot of that time too, like from original depictions of vampires just being blood-sucking murderers to how nowadays they're more fleshed out characters like in the God-forsaken book and movie that is Twilight you seem to enjoy so much. You're not far too happy about that.
It's fantastic.
No, it isn't. Humanity has evolved over the years, and it has gone from, even as close back as the early 2000s, where sex still wasn't really discussed all that much on TV, to now where it's discussed very slightly more. We do evolve, but anyway, on to the good stuff. The powers you can abuse if you have a vampiric boyfriend, girlfriend, or non-binary partner. Regeneration. You get one of them, your vampiric boyfriend or girlfriend, never going to have to go to the doctors for any kind of injury. Shape-shifting, we all know, we're all kind of nerdy here. We all know the basic powers of a vampire. They can turn into a bat.
On that point.
Well, come on then, yeah.
I have an issue here.
Yes?
Because let's say I'm getting cosy with my vampiric partner. And all of a sudden, I'm bumming a bat and getting done for bestiality. Now, that is not a situation I want to be put in with.
Interesting point to that matter. If anyone here is into that, I'm not going to king shame you, unlike Mr. Chris Hubble would. But as the first proposition pointed out, you have to establish boundaries in these kind of relationships. And I think that's something you'd establish pretty quickly. Similarly to a point that Matthew Sullivan brought up, actually, while some depictions of vampires do have them be shown to be they do contract blood-based diseases, several others also depict them as being completely immune to disease and immune to poisons, and it really does depend on which one is the actual truth of the matter, because we're not entirely certain, because they're fictional. But the good stuff here. What if you manage to convince your vampiric partner to turn you into a vampire? Think about that for a moment. How many things you could abuse, the evil you could do in the world. One of the powers of vampires that's most of you probably know, but isn't brought up all that much in fiction, they just have straight up mind control. Yeah, they do. A lot of vampires have mind control. It's great. And one of the common weaknesses that vampires are known to suffer from is they can't enter a house unless they've been asked. Just mind control to let you in, it's not that hard. Several other depictions have very interesting powers that are added on. I'm a bit of a weirdo, so... there's an anime called Hellsing Ultimate, where they basically take vampires and ramp them up not to 11, but to about 26. And they go from being just a bit super strong, super fast, immune to most damage, to destroying the entirety of London in a blood orgy.
On that point,
go on.
So, we talk about all these cool powers. You can mind control people into doing whatever you want. You can kill anyone you want. You can destroy London. These are good things.
I'm a politician,
These are
yes
bad
they are.
things.
I'm a politician, yes they are.
Calm yourselves.
But anyway, even if you do manage to get the worst case scenario, and as Sullivan very eloquently put, you're dating a straight up serial killer, vampires have many weaknesses that you could abuse for your own benefits. If you manage to kill your own vampire boyfriend or girlfriend or a non-binary partner, you can just donate their body to science, because something I realised over the past week, vampires don't age. That means that whenever their cells regenerate from the regeneration, their cells don't mutate, which means they can't contract cancer. Boom, you've got a cure for cancer!
And on that point,
yes.
Actually, in Vampire Diaries, they tried to cure cancer with blood that didn't work. So, with vampire blood, it didn't work.
It probably wouldn't be as simple as a blood transfusion. It'd probably be a lot more research than just, oh, let's stick a bit of blood in there and hope for the best.
Guys, calm yourselves, he's trying to do a speech.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Honestly, dating a vampire has so many benefits. From the sexy bodies that many of them have, they seem to be, on average, a lot better looking than humanity does. Even the ugly ones, like Nosferatu. You know, people are into different things. And you can also date just for the personality. And, in my case, for pure evil purposes. I would like to conclude by asking all of you that if you had the opportunity, the chance in your lifetime to live forever, and with an easy way out if things do go a bit peep-tong, you know, just stick yourself to the heart. Would you not take it so that you could move on? And I know what you're all thinking, maybe, I'll see so many of my friends die. I'll see so many things go horribly wrong in the world. Think about your own life. How many of your old friends from even high school, which for me is very recent, I'm only first year, how many of them are you still in contact with? I can tell you, those two. And the ones that you really do care about, you're able to give them your own powers. You can have them live forever as well, should they consent to it. There are many ups and downs to dating a vampire. But overall, I'd say why not? What's the worst that can happen? Thank you all for listening. I've needed a piss since the start of this, so if you'll excuse me now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roberts. That's a second flame. Enjoy your trip to the toilet. So, to conclude the debate for the opposition, please welcome Miss Lois McCullough.
Okay, so I'm going to start with some rebuttal. The first speaker was talking about the importance of sort of setting up boundaries in order to protect yourself, but in a predator-prey sort of situation, how long before those boundaries are broken? Maybe it is just, you know, animal blood to start with, then it's blood bags. How long before it is people, you know? Those boundaries can very easily get blurred. Second speaker was saying they've acquired a lot of skills, they're really good at piano. They may also have, held on to a lot of other things from their past, such as, sexism, racism, so they might, be playing your piano but saying some stuff that isn't really something you want to hear. Third speaker was talking about immortality that brings struggles of its own. You have to, relocate and constantly reinvent yourself. Also, yes, the issue of your friends and family dying. People do move on, but at the same time, what if you're the one that kills them? That could happen. Okay, and now I'm going to start my speech. So here is a vampire. There we go. He looks very lovely, all nice and mysterious and alluring. And the proposition has told you that they're very sexy because countless novels, TV shows, and films have told you this. Hollywood has thrown in some eyeliner and a bit of sparkle and distracted you from the fact that when you say, I want to date a vampire, you really mean, I want to date Robert Pattinson. The casting of young and attractive humans to play vampires has led us to conveniently ignore the reality. Vampires are dead. No one is jumping to date.
The vampires are not dead, they are undead. They're not...
vampires are not alive.
But they are not dead. Either.
Okay. No one is jumping to date a zombie or a mummy or even Frankenstein's monster. And if you are, you probably need to take a good look at yourself. In Europe in the Middle Ages, vampires were described as being bloated, rotten corpses who rose from the dead to suck blood and spread strange diseases. Not so sexy. I'd imagine, as it's been mentioned, some of you would be less keen to date a vampire if they looked more like this.
Hell yeah.
And let's ponder now whether all that sexiness would even translate into any action. The answer is probably not likely. Bella has to wait until after marriage before she can get it on. Buffy has sex.
That had significantly less to do with anything and more to do with Stephanie Meyer's Mormonism.
Okay, but another example, Buffy has sex with Angel, her vampire boyfriend, once, and as a result, he loses his soul and kills and tortures people close to her. Also, there's a lot of these brooding vampire characters that have a dark past, which often involves raping and killing many innocent people, which is a bit of a mood killer. Also, they're ridiculously old. You don't go down to the local nursing home looking for a hot date, and the average age there is much lower than these sort of 200-year-old vampires that we're used to seeing. It's just a bit weird, and it's a bit gross. It's weirder still when you consider the vampire's motivations. It's super strange to date what you eat. I love a nice goujon as much as the next girl, but I'm not about to leave my boyfriend and go out with a chicken. The proposition may tell you it's just one date, but if vampires are as alluring and as desirable as they say they are, then surely that's enough time for you to get killed or to catch feels and have to deal with the age gap, the blood addiction, no light, no mirrors, no kids, the list goes on. All in all, it is really not worth the risk. As Laura has explained, dead and alive, you come from two different worlds. Prog might tell you that's romantic, but look what happened to Romeo and Juliet. Matthew reminded us that vamps are pure evil by nature. You wouldn't date a serial killer, so why date one of them? And finally, they are dead/undead. And there are a lot of sexy, alive people, as has been said. So really, all in all, it's just not worth it. And that went a lot quicker than I thought. So does anybody have any POIs? Yes?
So you bring up about the fact that you're their food, they're going to do bad things to you. Here's the thing though, I can fix them. That's it. That's the
See,
I'm special.
You may think you can fix them, but the closer you get to them, the more you're going to start aligning yourself with their mindset, and soon you're going to be forgiving a lot of stuff and probably, becoming as bad as them in the long run.
You said, often you say that there's plenty of good-looking non-vampires, but there's not enough of them.
Well, there. Okay, yes. Oh.
Okay. So, one of the things that the vampire metaphor is occasionally used for is in regards to people's willingness to do evil. So, for example, many vampires can satiate themselves entirely off of animal blood, yet they choose not to just because it feels better or they prefer it. And there's a capitalistic analogy in there to go into. But what is it about vampirism that makes them inherently evil? And is it not just the case that they are choosing to do evil within that?
Okay, I would say they're inherently evil because the life force that they live off is blood, it's life. So things have to die for them to live. If you're a human, you can be a vegetarian. Things don't have to die for you to live. But if you're a vampire, things have to die for you to live. Okay. Can I finish? No? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCullough, for your speech. So, it's that time of the evening again where you get to ask some questions of our speakers. I've got my card, there it is, and a pen, so that I can find Connor when he inevitably swears. So, are there any questions to be directed towards the proposition? Yes, so if you sit in for minutes.
Umar Zayan. So I'd like to just point out the fact that humans, whether religious or non-religious, try to live their lives as moral and ethical and as fun as possible. Whereas vampires tend to be as immoral and unethical as possible and literally hate the idea of being right and being good, being righteous and good. They literally hate us to the point where they kill us. So isn't asking a vampire to date you like asking the DUP to organise a gay wedding?
Okay. Well, what I would say is that these vampires that are all about killing humans, hate them, whatever, maybe those are just the famous ones. You know, there are lots of vampires out there who just want to be low-key, they want to hide, and maybe they do just want a nice partner to their goth aesthetic.
Opposition to respond.
You don't have to be a vampire to be goth.
But is goth...
No back and forth, please. I'm sorry. It's just what happens.
Goth is inherently
Stop it! Behave! Are there any questions for the opposition? No. Yes, there is, Mr. Russell there.
Could you provide a further expanded... The point was raised briefly in a POI, and I'd like to hear a further expanded comment on it from your side in regards to the suggestion of providing vampires with state-funded blood bags in order to keep them satiated. Because personally, I think this sounds a bit like giving serial killers state-mandated puppies to kill so they don't kill humans.
Oh, it's getting spicy!
Well, yeah, no, I just kind of agree with that. It's kind of like giving serial killers state-sponsored puppies to kill so that they don't go out killing humans. Unfortunately, just like with the serial killers, the puppies aren't going to be good enough. And these are serial killers who spent the past millennia doing this.
Seems in some circumstances puppies aren't good boys.
So, there are blood collection drives all across the country, all across the world, and I have to point out that how much more blood do you think people would give if they knew that it was going to a hunky vampire party?
On that note, are there any abstaining questions? Yes, Mr. Auckland, expand.
Right, okay. There seems to be a generalisation made throughout this debate that all vampires are sadistic serial killing nut jobs, okay? And here's the thing, a lot of people get made into a vampire unwillingly, and they've effectively been given a disease. Now, I think it's morally reprehensible to kill anyone because they have got a disease. So there's either side of anything to possibly curing vampirism and actually looking at it as the disease it is.
Proposition to respond first to this.
Well, I suppose yes, but our side would be that yes, these people could be infected with a disease, wasn't their fault, they had no control over it. That is not a reason to not date them, but we are not against them finding a cure for themselves, and we would happily maintain a loving relationship afterwards.
Opposition to respond?
Look, even if it is a disease, even if you were made into a vampire unwillingly, That's one of the major problems with being a vampire. It's that you trend towards this evil even when you try to maintain your humanity. Because when you have this curse, and you're living forever with an insatiable need for the blood of other people, your morals just slowly slip away. And you might hold on to them for decades or centuries, but eventually the slow march of time will strip away your ethics and your morals and leave you a husk, spiritually and mentally, just as you are physically.
Wonderful. So we're going to take a brief intermission while I say something I was going to say earlier. Last week, did anyone lose this umbrella?
Yes, that's mine.
Was that yours? Well, it's been in the Senate room all week. There you go. There you go. We've missed out on an umbrella, unfortunately. We were going to steal it if they were well done.
I was going to take it home, like I did.
So, enjoy the umbrella. And on that note, are there any questions for the proposition? Mr. Ben Cavan.
Well, obviously, whenever you're going out with someone, you want to show them off, you know, prized possession and all that. But I'm just wondering, I'll rephrase that. You want to show them off because you know you love them. But obviously, with a vampire, they can't come out in daylight. And so, particularly over the summer, you're barely going to be able to take them out anywhere because it's day, you know, it's light most of the day. So, how would you respond to that?
Depends on what you're going from here, on whether or not they can go out during the day. The vampire diaries, they have magic, they can go out during the day. Twilight, technically, they can. Here, summer, not that bright anyway. But there's a plethora of ways that could be worked around, but as well, all relationships are based off of compromise. And there are a lot of people who have light sensitivity to an extreme degree that can go out during the day anyway. And there are people, vampirism is actually a real disease where there are people who really cannot be in the sunlight, very bad for them. And those people work around it, etc., etc. There you go.
I would like to remind everyone that we're not to be distracted by the fireworks that were going on.
Yes.
I saw caught my eye, like, is that an explosion? And then I just saw everyone go, nice! So please try to maintain your focus on the speakers. They're really doing a good job here. So opposition, you respond.
I would agree with you. Also, you're gonna have a lot of crap holidays, I would say, with them. Also, they're probably gonna want to keep a low profile as well and keeping with that, so you know your friends might think you've made them up. And they might be sicker.
Any questions for the opposition? Ms. Tara Grace Connolly.
So I've heard a lot about how, particularly from yourself, about how vampires are like evil husks that over millennia have been slowly whittled down into like soulless, horrible things. Surely what they would need would be some sort of contact with humanity, someone to try and help them feel a bit more human again. And maybe it's kind of very, rude of us to turn our back on this community that needs our help. You know, maybe it's our job or something.
That's really sweet.
Really like sentimental, like.
Opposition to respond. I'm just getting my cup.
It's already pretty unhealthy when you enter into a relationship thinking, I'll be the one to fix them. All their toxic tendencies, I can show them how to be good. That's already kind of a red flag. You shouldn't be entering into that relationship. When those toxic tendencies are, as I keep going back to, going out every night, drinking blood, killing people, mind controlling them, no, you're not going to be the one to fix them. And if you try, they're probably going to kill you.
I would agree that empathy is sorely needed on behalf of the opposition to turn away people who are in need of help. And with all this talk of aging into mindless, evil husks, as we've demonstrated, there are heroic vampires in literature, there are good vampires. I can't help but wonder, have you, misread? This is vampires, not Conservative Party members we're talking about here.
There's a line I meant to say here, and I've forgotten the line, but it's, we respect everyone of every political belief. That was just a line. That was of me doing my wee professional bit there. Now we move on to abstaining questions. That was quick. So, Mark Gilmore, you can give an abstaining question.
I'm still very much on the fence. We've heard.
This isn't a support group, Mark. It's not this actually Mark Gilmore.
Let the House decide. We've heard the amazing proposition argument from Mr. Radcliffe. You can become a vampire too, and this seems really cool and romantic. But then we've heard from the opposition, all vampires are evil. So the question really is it worth it? Is this Beauty and the Beast, or Beauty is the Feast?
I like that a lot.
You've been thinking of that pun for quite some time, haven't you? So, opposition to respond.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's worth it. One, I wouldn't want to become a vampire. I just personally don't want to eat people. I don't want to drink blood. It's just my own thing. But yeah, we tried to argue on the side. You can see that there's just too many difficulties. And really, when it comes up to the balance, it's just not worth getting involved in from the beginning. It's better stay clear from evil monsters.
Opposition to respond.
We think it is worth it. There are a lot of difficulties in love. There are a lot of challenges to face in any kind of relationship. And to say that there are just too many difficulties to enter into a relationship is defeatist talk, and it can stop you from entering into any relationship at all. Even the most mundane, like your best friend that you went to school with, there are problems in that relationship too, and there's ways to overcome all, and we believe that love is worth it.
Oh, that's really sweet. Anyway, this is the proposition. Mr. Russell,
Alright, I'd like to address a couple of things that came up in the second proposition speaker's speech. Two main issues that I'd like her to respond to. The first being that she claimed that if you are immortal, you never have to face retribution from God, or you never have to die. However, fundamentally, we've also seen throughout this debate a great highlighting of the many, many weaknesses of a vampire. And with immortality, there is a distinct problem. Because if you live forever, even if there is only a 0.00001% chance on any given day that you die, you will eventually die. The probability will eventually trend towards 100%. Well, you know what I mean. So there is no true immortality in that regard, and you will eventually die and have to face a reckoning or fade out of existence, which would be your biggest fear. The second thing I want to bring up is you very, very much danced around the idea of vampiric sexual talent. But I would like to counter-propose the notion that in many vampire novels, and in a good portion of vampire fiction, vampires actually become impotent. So do you not think that would be incredibly disappointing?
I'm just going to say, if this becomes too cursed, I will either stop it or vomit on the spot. So be careful or don't.
Okay, so on the first one, requires that you believe that there is a God, which, depends on who you're talking to, what they believe in that regard. Won't talk about it too much. As well as the fact that I suppose the idea that you're off putting death as long as you can. Some vampires just turn to stone if they live long enough, in which case, do they die or are they just stone? I don't know. So, no retribution there, you're just a rock. To your second point, again, I suppose that depends on what you're reading, what interpretation you're talking about. Some of them are great. At the bedroom element. I'm trying to dance around the topic as much as possible because I incurred a fine the last time I spoke, which I haven't paid because I can't remember what it was.
Just say whatever, Mary Kay. That's the point of caring.
They were fucking great at sex.
Oh, that was Mary Kay again. Here we go.
Some of them were, and some of them are, and it depends again across the board on all of those questions that you asked me. It depends on what interpretation that you're working off.
opposition to respond?
No.
Okay, in which case I will just draw your attention to the quote. No retribution there, you're just a rock. which I wrote down. So there are questions for the opposition. Any at all?
I can do one if need be.
Flip. Vampire Boy, Mr. Russell Nairn, owner of fangs, slayer of stakes.
I do own fangs. I should clarify for everyone listening, if you don't already know, I'm doing my dissertation on like contemporary vampire literature, and I read a lot of vampire things, and I run a game of Vampire the Masquerade, and I basically spend a lot of time thinking about vampires.
You still want a bit of vampire?
No, I don't actually. I think they're horrible. But for the opposition, the main question I would like to ask you is, you focused a lot on this idea of inherent manipulation and evil within a relationship with a vampire. However, how would you respond to the notion of true consent being possible in regards to this relationship, where an individual wishes to date a vampire because they genuinely enjoy and are into the notion of being fed off by that vampire, and they exclusively are fed off by that vampire, and that vampire in no way feeds off of anyone else outside of that individual? Do you think in that particular situation it is okay, or do you think that that goes beyond a capacity for consensual relations between individuals?
So, that is a good point. However, there's two main issues with it. The first is that there's always a significant chance that they're going to get a bit too far. You know, you're going in for your nightly suck. And, you know, they're like, yes, I quite enjoy drinking blood. Yes, this is quite nice. Oh, no, I've killed them, another moth dead. That's always a possibility, and that's always a danger in that kind of relationship. And the other point is that I think there is an inherent power imbalance in such a relationship. If it's a relationship between a mortal who is between 18 and, let's say, 100 years old, they're a lot younger than a many centuries-year-old vampire. They are a lot physically weaker. They don't have the power to mind control people. I think that true consent probably isn't something that is likely to exist in such a relationship, given the very severe power imbalance that exists. Quite like an 18-year-old dating a 70-year-old millionaire. It's just a bit icky.
So, the topic of vampire fetishism allows me to bring up something that I cut from my speech, which is the idea that the sort of interplay of human-vampire relationships can be likened in many ways to contemporary S&M relationships. And in the same way that the opposition has routinely demonized vampiric relationships, in the same way S&M relationships are often demonized the same way, like people go too far, people are sadistic. In reality, most S&M relationships are conducted in a safe way where both parties consent and have set boundaries and are comfortable with the action. And yeah, don't kink shame, guys, come on!
I have also written down the phrase, nicely sunk. There we go. That was another one for you, Mark. Another creepy noise. Okay, and on that note, are there any abstaining questions? Oh, everyone, you can't ask one. That's not the rules, Mary Kate. We didn't come here. Oh, we're going to ask an abstaining question. Can I ask a question to myself? No. So who was it that wanted to ask abstaining questions? I'll go to. You've decided it's Mr. Hubble. Chris Hubble. A little Halloween gift.
I've got some puns. So, this is. Let's say you are dating a vampire, let's say, or you've matched them on Boita. And you're planning your next step. And I think it's really hard. I've been planning a day. It's really hard to find a restaurant. You know, steaks off the menu. They get worse. So, say if they're really powerful brains, you try and start a lovely conversation, but they spend all their time coughing. One more. No, two more. No, one more. You're all good. No, two more. You want to hang out with your crew, the Crips, but they're all about blood.
I'm going to make you eat that page.
Final one. You want to have a lovely afternoon in the park playing cricket, but they won't let you bat. So, what would be your solution to a perfect date with a vampire?
That could have been a lot shorter.
I would have wasted at least half an hour of me writing shit.
Was that what we swear?
It wasn't.
Wasn't it?
No.
Okay. Proposition to respond first. If you want to.
I would find a nice hill somewhere, lie down under the stars, and just hold hands and watch the stars go by. And then as the sun begins to rise, we'd go home and we'd play some Tekken.
Opposition to respond.
Well, I don't know. We couldn't go to like an Italian restaurant because there's the whole issue with garlic and stuff. Also, I don't know how we're gonna watch the sunrise because, like, you know, it's gonna just burn the skin and stuff. Yeah, no, I think just more sit in the dark and hope that they don't eat me.
The ideal date.
And on that note of sitting in the dark, it is time to move on to something we like to call the vote. Do you have a slide for the vote? No! So if you want to vote on this motion, please, if you believe that the proposition spoke best tonight, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
11. I wanted to do that all night. It wasn't as funny as it was in my head. Anyone who thinks that the opposition spoke better, please raise your hand and say nay.
Nay.
11. And all those who wish to abstain on the motion, who therefore believe both sides spoke equally well, equally terribly, or don't mind, please raise your hands and say meh.
No.
7. So, Madam Secretary, the stakes are high. Please read out the vote.
On motion, this House would date a vampire. Proposition have 11 votes. Opposition have 11 votes. And abstaining have 7. Yet again.
Yet again, you can't make up your mind. No one has it. They both. You're all winners. Let's applaud that. Everyone wins, and what a lovely message on this Halloween evening. So, before we go, I'd like to say, when I do bang the gavel to end the meeting, I want everyone to leave quite quickly. It's good that everyone goes as a group. Council, please stay behind to reset up the room, move the tables that we may or may not have stolen from other rooms back to where they are, and speakers, yeet yourselves to the front for a photograph. Apart from that, happy Halloween. I declare this meeting adjourned. Yes, if you want to be a member or buy a lapel pin, go up to the front.